Alright, in this video I'm going to be talking about the film Sirāt, directed by Oliver Laxe. The film is nominated for 2 Academy Awards this year, including Best International Feature Film and Best Sound. And I gotta say, I'm a little on the fence about it. I'm still working through what I actually feel about it, but I'm making this video anyway. Let me start with what the film is about. Sirāt follows a father and his young son who are in the deserts of Morocco at a rave, searching for the father's missing daughter, whom he hasn't seen in 5 months. Someone has told him that she might be at this rave, so he's passing out flyers and asking around trying to track her down. Unfortunately, no one has seen her, but when he meets a group of ravers, they all tell him that she might be at another rave happening the following week. So Luis and his son Esteban travel with this band of nomadic desert ravers across a barren landscape of Morocco toward Mauritania, where the next rave is supposedly taking place. What follows is essentially a road of terrors where things begin to go off the rails in ways that are shocking and at times devastating. I'll leave it at that for now because there are major spoilers that I'm going to get to later in this video, and I want to avoid them for the moment. If you're going into this film knowing very little about it, a few comparisons might help. The most obvious one, the one that many people are already making, is to Wages of Fear, directed by Henri-Georges Clouzot, or to Sorcerer, William Friedkin's remake, starring Roy Scheider. It absolutely leans into that kind of cinematic tension. Massive trucks crawling over narrow roads along giant cliffs where at any moment you feel that something could go catastrophically wrong. But outside of that, there's also a strain of 1970s road movie energy, films like Easy Rider or Two Lane Blacktop, that sort of free-spirited, wandering counterculture vibe. And layered on top of that, you could feel the influence of someone like Gaspar Noé, particularly in a film like Climax, where halfway through everything collapses into chaos. And I'll even throw in Gus Van Sant's Jerry for the desert of it all. Before getting into spoilers, I want to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. First and foremost, it's no surprise this film was nominated for Best Sound. The sound design absolutely knocked me flat. A huge component of this film is rave music, techno, EDM, used almost like a heartbeat. It becomes the rhythm of the movie. At times, the music lulls you into a trance. It feels spiritual, meditative, calming. Weirdly, I would compare it to the feeling that I got watching The Testament of Anne Lee. Hopefully that didn't lose you guys. But when paired with certain images, it has the equal and opposite effect. It draws out pure dread, pure tension. You could feel your own heart rate rising as the music pulses beneath increasingly precarious situations. The film is also very aware of audience expectations, and it weaponizes them. It sets up multiple scenarios that you think will unfold in predictable ways, only to subvert them. And this is a bit of a double-edged sword. Sometimes those subversions feel thrilling, other times they can feel a little bit manipulative. But one example that really works involves the ravers themselves. We're conditioned by cinema to have certain preconceived notions, perhaps prejudices, you can call it that. We assume drug use, moral ambiguity, instability, selfishness under pressure. There's even a certain look to the non-professional actors that Laxe cast, faces that in other films might signal danger or horror. But very quickly, the film dispenses with that assumption. This is a genuine community. They care for one another. They help each other. They function as a kind of found family. There's a moment where Luis and Esteban's dog Pippa goes missing. They discover she's eaten someone's feces that contained leftover LSD, and she's essentially having a bad trip. Luis and Esteban are understandably distraught, and instead of dismissing it or treating it as a joke, the ravers are genuinely concerned. They rally around them, and they help. Moments like that recur. We watch Esteban bond with the group, all the while they're driving across treacherous desert terrain, and the film immerses us in this push and pull between serenity and danger. Another strength of this film is the imagery. I listened to an interview with Laxe in which he lamented that many modern films, especially television, aren't built around striking, unforgettable images. I'm not sure I fully agree with him, but I understand the impulse and the sentiment. The films that linger in our cultural memory often have clear iconographic imprint. You can't not see Detective Mills shooting John Doe at the end of Seven. You can't not see the helicopters descending in Apocalypse Now. Sirāt is trying to do something similar. It's highly visual. There's very little dialogue. It wants the images to burrow into your brain. That said, that leads into one of my main criticisms of the movie. The script, according to Laxe, was only 50 pages, 50, for a 2-hour film. And you feel that. There are long, lingering shots of cars driving across the desert, extended sequences of dancing, moonlight rising over the dunes, montage like stretches that create atmosphere but stall the narrative momentum. It sometimes feels like the film consists of 10 plot heavy sequences interspersed with lengthy musical and visual interludes. It absolutely creates this sort of spiritual experience, but I can't say that I walked away understanding what the film was ultimately trying to say. Even after hearing Lache discuss it, I'm not sure I understand it any better. Okay, so at this point, I want to pivot over to major spoiler sections. So if you have not seen Sirāt, please, I beg you, turn this off. You don't want to hear what I'm about to say. There's a tense sequence along the cliffside where one of the trucks gets stuck in a pothole near a sheer drop. Everyone works together to free it. Luis tells Esteban to get back in the car, so he's staying away from the edge. Esteban obliges, they free the truck, and suddenly, without warning, the car with Esteban and Pipa inside begins rolling backwards and completely rolls off the cliff. The theater I was in reacted audibly. Someone gasped, someone muttered under their breath, "What the f?" And yeah, that's the correct reaction. It's shocking, it's brutal, and it fundamentally reorients the film. Much like Gaspar Noé's climax, where the midpoint detonates into madness, this moment changes everything. But in this film, it's less about collective hysteria and more about grief and existential terror. Luis is devastated. I mean, he just watched his son die. Who wouldn't be devastated? As he and the ravers search for help in the vast desert, they discover, in the most violent way possible, that they're in a minefield. The desert is riddled with explosives, and now the film becomes about survival, and not everyone makes it. Now, I'm of two minds about these choices. Some of them feel provocative for the sake of provocation. Lache has described the film as being about confronting death before your own death. Perhaps there's a certain European philosophical bent here, a confrontation with randomness and inevitability, but I'm not sure I extracted much beyond the visceral. Lache also said in that interview that this is a film that you watch with your body, not your brain. And that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me because I spent my whole subway ride home trying to intellectually unpack this film. And maybe that's not the right approach. There's a randomness to the tragedy. The original narrative, finding the missing daughter, simply evaporates. They never reach Mauritania, there's no closure. The film ends with Louise and two surviving ravers sitting on a cramped train, riding off into the distance. We don't know what happens to them. Presumably they've changed, but how? To what end? There's a kind of nihilism at play, a suggestion that death doesn't necessarily come with meaning, that dignity might be something we project onto it rather than something inherent. And yet, I can't shake the imagery. The car going off the cliff, Jade dancing in the desert, tripping, trying to purge the grief of losing Esteban, only to step on a mine and be blown to bits. Again, the theater reacted audibly. It's viscerally shocking. But once that mine explodes, the film feels slightly adrift. The tension remains. They still have to escape the minefield, but it almost feels like that should have been the beginning of the third act, not the final stretch of the movie. Maybe that's just me comparing it to Sorcerer or The Wages of Fear, where the narrative is relentlessly goal-oriented. Sirāt sort of resists that. Before I wrap up, I want to return to the tranquility of the score. The techno rave music is haunting when placed against the open desert. We're used to hearing that music in dark nightclubs, but here it plays beneath vast horizons and empty landscapes. It's striking, and it contributes to the film's iconography. I have to commend Lache and his cinematographer. They use the full language of cinema: sound, silence, image, light, performance, to extract tension in ways that feel deeply rooted in the traditions refined by masters like Clouseau and even Hitchcock. But at the end of the day, I'm wrestling with the big picture of Sirāt. I push back slightly on Lache's assertion that modern cinema is lacking iconic imagery. I think there's plenty of it. What may be missing sometimes is thematic resonance, a landing that gives those images emotional or philosophical weight. I will remember Sirāt physically. I will remember how it felt in my body, but I'm not sure I'll remember it emotionally or intellectually because I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me. And maybe that's the point. As a film I watch with my body, it's undeniably effective. As a film I watch with my brain, I'm not convinced it led me anywhere. Those are my thoughts on Sirāt. If you have seen the film, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to hear from you. When you're done with that, don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified when new videos come out on this very channel. When you're done with that, go ahead and follow me on Letterboxd so you can see what I'm watching when I'm watching it. When you're done with that, go check out my podcast where I talk about movies with people who love movies. And if you love movies and want to talk to me about them, send an email to this email down below saying, hey, I heard that you're looking for guests to be on your show, and I want to be one of them, and we'll get the ball rolling. Anyway, Sirāt, go check it out. If you haven't seen it, I certainly hope you did because I just spoiled the out of it. But if you haven't seen it, definitely go give it a chance, and we'll see if it picks up anything at the Academy Awards. My guess is that it won't, but hey, I've been wrong before. Anyway, check out Sirāt. I'll see you all next time.